Good evening, everyone. If you're not already, I bet that's Jeff Hubbard that's banging on a glass. You can always count on Jeff Hubbard to try to bring things to order. He also creates a lot of disorder in a lot of situations, but thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the banging on the glass. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Ball. I'm the president of the Law Alumni Chapter Board of Directors. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you to the 15th Annual Law Alumni Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Y'all, this is one of my favorite things that we do. It is such a great thing to be able to come together as the Ole Miss family and celebrate some of our most distinguished alumni. And this is a great evening. It's a great time for us to come together and enjoy each other and enjoy these alumni that we are so proud of and are here to recognize tonight. Tonight's program will begin immediately after the dinner. I am taking this time to say, hey, on your cell phones, if you'll put them on silent, you may have a very funny ringtone. We just kind of don't want to hear it in the middle of this. So make sure your phones are on silent. I also want to take a moment to introduce some special guests that we have joining us tonight. First of all, I want to ask those of you who are already members of the Law Alumni Hall of Fame to please stand and be recognized. Next, we want to recognize all that may be with us that are members of the judiciary. If you are a member of the judiciary, please stand, and we would love to recognize you as well. We have with us, of course, the dean of our law school, Fred Slaybach, and his wife, Melanie Nielsen. If y'all would please stand and be recognized. Thank you. And sitting with the dean is Ole Miss Alumni Association, Ole Miss, the whole University Alumni Association President, Jeff Hubbard, and his wife, Lisa. If you'll please stand. We also want to recognize the ones that really make everything happen, and the ones that we're so proud of and appreciate all of their service and their great teaching, all of those that are members of the faculty and staff of the law school. If you will please stand. And the ones that certainly we want to recognize in the Alumni Association, we exist basically in large part to serve you. And I want to recognize any students of the Ole Miss Law School that may be in attendance tonight. If you will please stand. Okay, well, y'all settle in for a great evening tonight. We've got great food. We've got great times ahead of us tonight, and we're looking forward to having this time of celebrating the lives and the careers of some of our most distinguished alumni. And at this time, I will ask Judge Taylor McNeil, President-elect of the Law Alumni Chapter's Board of Directors, to come give us our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Thank you for bringing us together in this moment to celebrate the lives and the careers of such a distinguished group of people, distinguished members of the bar who gave their lives and gave their careers towards many towards public service, but often towards the causes of the community and the causes of the practice of law that went unnoticed, where they helped others. People never noticed all of the help they provided. We thank you for allowing us to have this moment to celebrate them and to also celebrate our students and other people in this room. But let us remember you and keep you in the forefront of our thoughts and our deeds. In Christ's most holy name, amen.
Welcome to the 15th Annual University of Mississippi School of Law Alumni Hall of Fame Ceremony. Our first inductee of the night is Stephen E. Faris, Sr.
I guess the first time I really realized what it was my dad did, most of the people in my family are lawyers. It's a family business. And I heard them talk and I knew what they did, but I didn't really understand what that meant. When I was about 11 or 12, I can remember we may have been going to an Ole Miss ball game, and he told me about a song by Bob Dylan called Hurricane. And I always liked the 60s music when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, and he put it in. And if you're familiar with the song, you realize how powerful that song is to somebody that represents people in the criminal justice system. The story it tells about Reuben Carter and what happens to him in a murder case, it really helped me to understand what my dad was doing and why he was doing it. And I think that's what really connected me with him and made me want to become an attorney as well. He's been covered by court TV. Of course, the Mary Winkler case was national news. He was on with Nancy Grace. I think that was unique to me to see a country guy from Ashland, Mississippi on CNN sparring, with a well-known entity who talks about these controversial cases. And I think his line to her was, they were talking about a confession, and he told her she needed to go back to kiddie prosecutor school. And I got a big kick out of that, and I know my grandmother did. But I would say that the Nicholson case, which was on court TV and was going on while my first child was being born. But in the Mike Mullins, the FedEx murder case in Memphis, those were some high water marks for him, where he started gaining notoriety, I think, on a more national scale. But I had seen those things since I would go and watch his cases in college and sit out in the audience. And I don't think you understand what makes a lawyer good until you sit in a courtroom and you watch them try a case. It's one thing to negotiate, but it's quite another to try a case where someone's life's on the line and a jury is deciding that fate. And in watching him and his mastery of the evidence, and I think that's what makes him so great is that no one will out-prepare him. He will know the case better than the police, the investigators, the prosecutor, and he'll know the law as well. And the way he weaves that together with his personality is what makes him, in my mind, and I'm biased because I'm his son, but he's the best litigator I've ever seen. He's a hero. He's a real hero. And not just to me. Growing up, he was always my hero. He played basketball for Ole Miss. He was a well-known attorney. But what makes him a hero is the way he cares about his clients, the way he personalizes things. And people in this business tell us, don't personalize it, don't make it personal. But that's what he does, because he cares about the people, and he cares about how they're treated. And he cares about winning, and he cares about results. And I don't know how you could pick anybody in this particular field that wouldn't represent the law school more than Steve Faris does, and what he means to that law school, what he means to that university. He's an example of small town boy makes good and becomes excellent. One thing I would like to say to him would be how much I appreciate his patience with me and being a mentor, and sharing his knowledge and sharing the way that he treats people, just being able to watch him. One of the things that I think he is proud of, and I know that I am, is I noticed from a very young age when I would go to court with him, how he treats the staff, how he treats the girls in the back, the bailiff. Anybody can be nice to the judge or the prosecutor, the people that are important in the room, but he made those people feel important too. And you could tell because they had a smile on their face when they saw him come in. And I think for the Hall of Fame, when you're recognizing somebody, it's not just their ability, but it's their personality, and it's what people think of them. And I think that when people see Steve Faris walk into the courtroom, they smile. They know they're going to laugh. They know they're going to have fun. And they know they're going to see a master at work.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Stephen E. Faris, Sr.
Thanks, son. Please remain seated. First of all, it's my great honor to be here tonight. It's my great honor to have my family, my friends, the educators, the judges, the other nominees, especially Briggs Smith, Miss Sanders, Cham, the family of Miss Gerald. We appreciate all of y'all being here. I had a privileged life. We hear that word a lot. But I had a privileged life. I was born in the United States of America. I grew up in Mississippi. I don't expect a lot of applause. I had great parents. I had great siblings. My brother John Booth, my sister Kay, my little brother Jeff. And believe you me, they kept me grounded. I was blessed to meet Suzanne, my wife, at summer school at Northwest Junior College. I told my good friend, y'all are aware of Wall Doxey State Park. My good friend Ralph Doxey, the grandson of the namesake. I told him the day I met Suzanne, I was going to marry her. And I did. We've got 3 wonderful children, Steve Jr., Paxton, Kelsey. I have wonderful grandchildren. I have a family. But the family goes beyond blood. You are my family. The law is my family. Bob Whitwell, George Carlson, Barry Ford, all the prosecutors, all the court personnel are my family. Without them, I would be nothing. They kept me in my place, they mentored me, and they brought me to this moment. No, I can't walk very good anymore. I can't do that. But I can still think. And what I think about is this. Our great country ebbs and flows. The pendulum swings back and forth. Without the law, there is chaos. We must follow the law. If we want to criticize judges, that's what appellate courts are for. That's the way it's set up. I've never left a courtroom when I lost that I didn't see how the jury came to the decision they did, or the judge did. If I don't like it, take them up. See who's right. We have to support, we have to speak about the rule of law every day. Otherwise, this country will be nothing more, and I don't want to use the word banana republic, so I won't say it, but will be nothing more than a secondary nation. And we're better than that. This law school is to teach, is to mentor, as to prepare. And when those young lawyers come into the system, it is our duty as lawyers and judges and prosecutors to mentor them, to do it the right way. I end on this. I told you I was blessed. I got to come to the University of Mississippi. I grew up thinking everybody that played football here were supermen. I got to see Coolidge Ball come in as the first black athlete at the University of Mississippi. I got to see history. I got to go to law school here. I got to be an alumni. My God, how good does it get? Thank you.
Our next inductee is Martha W. Gerald.
This coming May will be the 50th year that the professors at Ole Miss and the state of Mississippi has allowed me to practice law. So I graduated from Ole Miss Law School in May of 1975. After my second year in 1974, I interviewed with, I think, 6 law firms in Jackson, and I think I got 3 offers. And one of the offers was from the firm of Wells, Gerald, Brandwaters, and Cox in Jackson. And I accepted that offer. And I worked as a law clerk with the firm. Miss Gerald was the head of the firm at that time. That's when I first met and got to know Martha Gerald. And for the next 21 years, Martha Gerald was the senior partner in the firm, and I worked very closely with Miss Gerald and observed her both as a very able attorney and as a person. She was the editor of the Law Review, and she graduated in 1944. 1944, of course, the United States was in the middle of World War II, and all the able-bodied men that Martha had started with had to leave law school and were in service. And she told me that there was nothing but a few women and some handicapped men were still in her class and that graduated with her. And she says that's the only reason she got a job. And she got a job offer with the Wells firm in Jackson. whose senior partner was W. Calvin Wells III, who, when I briefly practiced with him, we called him the Big Cheese. He had been to Harvard Law School, and one of his law school classmates was general counsel for the California company, which is now Chevron. The first oil was discovered in Mississippi in 1939 in the Tinsley Field, and then in 1943, oil was discovered in Brookhaven Field by the California company. And so Mr. Wells had a bunch of clients that needed oil and gas lawyers, and there were no oil and gas lawyers in Mississippi. So he hired Martha Gerald, and she and Jack Ewan were recognized as the dean of the oil and gas lawyers in Mississippi in 1976 when I joined the firm. Earl Thomas and Martha Gerald tried many of the seminal cases as we were making oil and gas law in the state of Mississippi, as the lawyers tried cases, and the cases went up to the Mississippi Supreme Court, and the Mississippi Supreme Court either approved or disapproved of and set precedent as to various aspects of oil and gas law. So Martha was familiar with all of those cases and was just a fount of knowledge for young lawyers like me who were coming along 30 years after. She was just a great mentor to me and to the other young lawyers in the firm. Martha had also, she had suffered from polio in her youth, and she had a severe curvature of the spine. And so she had that handicap, but it never affected her at all. And she was quite beloved as a person and a lawyer. She was the president of the Hinds County Bar. I know she was president of the Mississippi Oil and Gas Lawyers Association. She was instrumental in founding the Central Mississippi Legal Services, which was initially sponsored by the Hinds County Bar, and she was on the board of directors, I know, of that legal services for many years. She was very active in the YWCA, and she was, I think, the chairman of the board of stewards of Galloway Methodist Church, which at that time was the largest Methodist church in the state. When I first joined the firm, one of the perks of the firm was a membership in the Capital City Petroleum Club. And at that time, it was only allowed men members. And so it was quite an indignity for Martha to have to get an associate to sign the bill. So she enlisted Reuben Anderson, who at that time was a circuit court judge in Jackson, and later on was the first black Supreme Court justice in Mississippi, to nominate her. And Reuben nominated her for membership, and the board of directors of the Capital City Petroleum Club changed the rules, and Martha became the first female member of the Capital City Petroleum Club. I'm sure there were many other firsts like that for Martha. Well, I'm very pleased that she was inducted into Law School Hall of Fame finally. I think she certainly deserves it. She was a great lawyer, and I owe a great debt to her.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Martha W. Gerald. Accepting the award on behalf of the family is her nephew, Judge Jim Frazier.
First, I'd like to say thank you for the committee for awarding this great honor to my Aunt Martha Gerald. And thank you, Si, for explaining her career so beautifully. I'm going to try to do something a little different, try to explain her as the human being that she was and another mother to me. I was fortunate. Stephen talked about having wonderful parents, which I certainly had, but I had three, and Martha was one of them. I want to set the stage for you a little dramatically. In 1929, and some of you may recall the significance of 1929, particularly for people who lived in the Mississippi Delta like she did, that giant wall of water was coming to Leland to crush it. And my grandfather put Martha and her brother on the last train out of Leland. And then when they came back, my grandfather took Martha and her brother for a little boat ride in a john boat in the floodwaters. Unfortunately, Martha contracted a disease, polio, from that. And it was my pleasure to write about her in one of my books, saying that, and the chapter was entitled, "The Girl the Mississippi River Couldn't Beat." And the fact is, nothing could stop her, nothing could beat her. She was one, of course, as some of you know, one of the first women lawyers in the state. And she dealt with a lot of prejudice at that time, being one of the 2 lawyers in the state that were women. But she never let anything stop her. And she was always a lovely person at the whole time. But I want to tell you some stories, just 3 short stories that will humanize her and what I think of her as a parent, and you might expect to hear some of these things from your parent. When I was in the district attorney's office, I was rooming, this was my first month in Jackson, and I was rooming with a fellow comrade in the district attorney's office, and I had a cat, and had a sign that said, "Beware of watch cat." And a thief broke into our apartment and stole all of his furniture and touched nothing of mine. And I was having dinner with Martha that night and bragging about how my watch cat saved all my stuff. And she laughed and said, has the thought not occurred to you that Richard had all this wonderful furniture and yours was such that a thief wouldn't take? And then another time, we were at the University Club, as we often were. I was in the DA's office, and her office was in downtown Jackson, and we would meet there or at the Capital City Petroleum Club for lunch every now and then. And so we were sitting there, and there were 2 lawyers sitting at the table next to us, a man and a woman. And the woman was trying to pay the bill. And I think the man must have been an old school kind of a guy, and he was making a big fuss about not letting her pay the bill. And Martha looked at me and said, "Jim, what do you think about that?" Well, I don't really know, Martha. It's 1979. I don't know what to think. What do you think about it? She said, "Well, since you asked me, I'll tell you." She said, "That woman there thinks she's as good as any other lawyer here in town, as any other man in this town. And he's embarrassing her and treating her like she's not an equal. And I don't ever want to see or hear of you embarrassing me by embarrassing a woman like that." Very polite, very nice, but she got the point across, just like a good parent would. But the final story I want to tell is that I had been in the district attorney's office for about a year, and we were having lunch at the University Club. And she said, "Well, Jim, I guess you've been practicing law long enough now to see that some lawyers don't always think that they should practice ethically. They think maybe they can do a little bit of unethical behavior, and it'll be all right. It'll work itself out." She said, "I know your father and my sister, your mother, have told you this before, but I'm your parent too, so I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell it this way." She said, "You can no more be a little bit unethical than you can be a little bit pregnant." She said, "The incidence of your birth has confirmed that you will never be pregnant. You just do everything you can to make sure you're never unethical." That was Martha Gerald all the way. I loved her very much, and I miss her. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Betty W. Sanders.
In June of 1976, I attended a Council on Legal Education Opportunity program. It's a pre-law program called CLEO. I just graduated from college, and we were getting ready to go to law school. So it's a pre-law program. I'm there. Betty was also attending that program, as well as another friend of ours, Robert Gibbs, who we became friends. And then one day we were talking, and I realized she was married. I'm like, "You're married?" She said, "This is a second career for me, going to law school." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Because she had been a business teacher at Mississippi Valley State. But we got to be friends, whatever was going on. So eventually we graduated from law school. Betty worked at North Mississippi Rural Legal Service. I worked at Southwest Mississippi Rural Legal Services. later on in life, and it was not planned, but Betty became a magistrate judge, and then she became a circuit judge. I became a circuit judge, as well as Robert Gibbs, and we didn't plan it, it just happened, but we all started off this program together. We all went to Ole Miss, and of course, when I first went on the bench, they would send Betty my mail, include my check. But that was okay, because she would call them and say, no, that's the other Sanders. Of course, my grandmother always said, I loved Betty Sanders so much that I went out and found a Sanders of my own, which is okay. If we were a football team, and starting from the time that we went through that program, Betty would be the quarterback. She has mentored me as a judge. She's mentored, and not just me, other women, other males. Betty has mentored everybody. She used her experience as a magistrate to help us with being circuit judges and how things would go and how you would do things. When I had children, she was saying, well, this is what you do. She inspired her children. And I look at it, Betty has 3 children, a lawyer, a physician, and a dentist. Who has 3 children? You got 3 professionals. While Betty was working for legal services, one of the first things she did was train our secretaries to be legal secretaries. And not only did she do that for the secretaries in North Mississippi, she also came to Southwest Mississippi. She went to the Jackson, Mississippi program, but she said that they needed to know how to be legal secretaries, not just regular secretaries. Throughout my career, I have taken those lessons and we've taught our staff how to be legal secretaries, because that was an initiative that Betty created, but it made things a whole lot better. Betty started the 3rd drug court in the state of Mississippi. Drug courts are very rewarding in terms of there is no better feeling to see a family that's somebody was on drugs and you see that family reunited because they have gotten over their addiction. She takes great pride in that she assisted Hinds County with their backlog, and she closed out a number of cases. She did that for a couple of years as a senior status judge. Betty has served as the chair of our Circuit Judges Association, one of the few females to do that. She now serves on the Mississippi Judicial College. She's done that for a number of years and she loves it. She got the Social Justice Award from her sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. She was surprised but very happy to get the Chief Justice Award in 2023. And that was a significant honor for her and for all of us, because we felt very proud that Betty had achieved this. I can think of no other person in my life who is more deserving of being in the Ole Miss Law Hall of Fame. It is a recognition of your impact on the local profession and the counties that you lived in and the lives that you touched. I'm honored to celebrate this momentous occasion with you, and your induction is a source of pride for all of us who've had the privilege of witnessing your brilliance. We are grateful for the joy and excitement that you've brought to the profession. And once again, I just want to say congratulations on a well-deserved honor. And I wish you all the continued happiness for years to come. And I hope that I'll be able to share those with you when we finally retire.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Betty W. Sanders.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I will just take my award and just go home. But seriously, thank you, Judge Lilly, for that video. Thank you to the Alumni Association for this wonderful, wonderful award. There are so many people that I need to thank tonight, but there is one that rises to the top. My late husband, Alex Sanders Sr. I was listening to the radio not long ago, and I learned that Dolly Parton had lost her husband earlier this month. Just days after his passing, she released a song, and the song is titled, "If You Hadn't Been There." The lyrics read, "You made me dream more than I dared. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't been there." Those words just resonated with me. Alex, and to understand my story, you have to understand his. Alex enrolled in this law school in 1966. He was a member of the first integrated law class to enter here, continue for 3 years, and graduate. After that, we moved back home to Greenwood. I was later serving as interim department head at Mississippi Valley State University, and I quickly realized to remain in that position, I needed to complete my doctorate. But I just figured a law degree would better fit my life's goal. Alex, of course, persevered here at the law school. We were married after his sophomore year. I was here back then, but I could not have been a successful student back then. The resentment was open and blatant. People often ask, "You were right there on the campus. Why didn't you just go to law school then?" Just wasn't my time, I guess. After we were there back in Greenwood, and the decision was made that I could now fulfill my life dreams with a young family. But when I arrived here at Ole Miss, I met and was supported by the likes of Cotton Ruthven, Professor Tom Mason, Professor James Minor, and a group from North Mississippi Rural Legal Services, where I still serve on their board today. And there were others. I would also like to thank the circuit judges across this state. When I was serving my term as magistrate judge, I learned so much from them. We have a little over 50 plus circuit judges in this state. I never knew there were 50 ways to try the same type of case. I thank all of them. During my 25 years on the bench, there were judges who offered me their private phone numbers, court staff, law clerk, Chief Justices Waller and Randolph, who had confidence in me in their case assignments. I must say, not all of the case assignments were great. I also owe a debt of gratitude not only to my husband Alex, but to this law school that provided me the confidence to go out and make a difference. There are some here who have shared this journey with me, and I would just like to acknowledge them. Would you raise your hand, please? All of those who are here tonight, who have come out to support, just raise your hand so that I may recognize. So that I may recognize the significant role that you have played in my life. I'm just a simple girl from the Mississippi Delta who tried to live a life of service to others. To all of you, I say, you made me dream more than I dared. I wouldn't be here without all of you. Thank you.
Our next inductee is D. Briggs Smith, Jr.
Well, I first met Briggs Smith when I was defending a case in which he represented the family of a young man who had tragically died while as a college student. And I had litigated cases against Briggs's law partner, Flip Phillips, and I knew of Briggs's reputation. An excellent reputation. This was my first experience of going head-to-head with him. From the outset, I was struck by Briggs's laser focus, his unwavering determination, and his meticulous preparation. Briggs was the epitome of professionalism. He was fierce in the courtroom, but always respectful. Now, Briggs's journey to becoming a lawyer was anything but conventional. After he graduated from college here at Ole Miss, he told his dad, a prominent pharmacist in Meridian, well, I want to become a lawyer. His father said, no, I want you to follow in my footsteps. And to honor his father, Briggs went on to pharmacy school, got licensed as a pharmacist, worked in the family pharmacy, and promptly moved to Oxford, Mississippi, where he could work in a New Albany pharmacy and to finance his tuition to go to law school. Now, that's how determined he was. Now, after law school, he and Flip had worked for Cliff Finch. And in 1974, when Cliff ran for governor, Briggs and Flip formed a very formidable law practice, Smith Phillips, located in Batesville. But his litigation practice was vast. His reputation extended well beyond the courtroom because he became a nationally recognized expert in the gaming industry following the legalization of casinos in Mississippi. His work nationwide helped shape the evolving landscape of that industry. His exceptional work earned him numerous accolades. He was inducted into the American College of Barristers, a member of the $1 Million Advocates Forum, Law Dragon 3000 leading plaintiff lawyers in America, and other peer-selected honorary association memberships. His litigation practice and his contributions to the bar and his dedication to the Ole Miss Law School all sum up the word service. He served as president of the Law Alumni chapter. He chaired the Lamar Water, and under his leadership, a record number of new members were admitted at his cajoling, and he squeezed a lot of money out of them for the law school. Squeezed a lot of money out of juries, too. He was named Law Alumnus of the Year in 2003. Smith did not limit his leadership to the legal community. He poured time and energy into his community, whether it was Boy Scouts, leading his family, leading his church. Now, Briggs would be the first to admit that this moment tonight would never have been possible without the love and encouragement of his beloved wife, Dot, and his children, about whom he spoke to me constantly. They are his pride and joy. Why does Briggs belong in the Hall of Fame? Well, I feel very strongly about that. He left an indelible mark on every aspect of the profession. He left an indelible mark on me, and I feel like he made me a better lawyer just for knowing him. This recognition is not just a testament to his career, but to the values he embodied every single day.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, D. Briggs Smith, Jr. Accepting the award on behalf of the Smith family is George Carlson.
I'm honored by the Smith family, Dot and Briggs, and the entire family to have been requested to speak tonight on behalf of Briggs. And Dot and Briggs and Jane and I, my wife, go back almost 60 years. They're dear friends. You know, I can promise you, based on what I say, that Ned and I have not gotten together, but some of his comments that he made similar to mine, and I guess that just shows, I think everybody that meets Briggs comes away, Ned, with the same impression. But as a young lawyer, Briggs and I would occasionally be opposite each other in the courtroom. Later on as a circuit judge, Briggs tried many cases and when I was presiding as a circuit judge. And I can say, and I have to digress just a moment, my second year in law school, Chancellor Robert Cayatt came to the law school. I was honored, along with Cham and I, classmates, to have had Professor Cayatt, Chancellor Cayatt. And he said something to us that I always remembered. And that was, when you go to court as a lawyer, remember three things. Number one, when you go into court, show up. And I thought that was odd, but Judge Sanders and I know that sometimes lawyers don't show up, believe it or not. But show up on time, and show up on time prepared. And I remembered that as a lawyer, a circuit judge, and a Supreme Court justice, and tried to follow that. And as Ned said, and I say, Briggs was always prepared. And he was a zealous advocate for his client. And yet, despite that, he also was very respectful to counsel opposite, to the opposing party, and to the court. You know, nowadays, I know for many years, when you settle a case, I mean, now a lot of it's digital, but you have all these settlement agreements and indemnity agreements, Steve, and everything else you have to sign and go through to get the settlement finalized. But I can remember the day back in the day, in my young days of practicing law, that you could actually, in the courtroom, settle a case on a handshake. Now, albeit you might have to go back to the office and prepare one or two page indemnity agreement and order dismissal, nothing like you have to do now. But with Briggs, you knew when you shook his hand and he said, "I agree," that was his word. You didn't have to worry about it after that. To me, and again, Ned used this word about Briggs, Briggs is the epitome of an ethical trial lawyer. Now, what I've said so far, Dot and the Smith family had no idea what I was going to say, but now I will say one thing that they requested that I say, and that is that on their behalf, to those of you responsible for nominating and electing Briggs to the Law Alumni Hall of Fame, they say thank you. And I say that on their behalf. And I likewise personally say to all of you, thank you for electing Briggs Smith to the Law School Alumni Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Our final inductee of the night is William C. Trotter III.
Cham has made it his life's goal, and he's just recently retired last October. He finally decided to retire from the practice of law. From the time he started practicing in Belzona, I believe in 1972, to 2024, it was amazing the amount of practice and people that he was able to help in that time period. In the practice of law, Cham was a mentor for me. He helped guide me to getting involved in different areas of the law that I might not have gotten involved with otherwise. Encouraged me to reach outside of a small town and reach out to the bar itself, also reach out to the other communities, volunteer at the law school, volunteer in Jackson, and help others to do that. He was great at showing you the opportunity and making sure you took advantage of it. He also did not just for me, but did that for attorneys all over the state, which in turn helped the state and everything else move forward. As we all know, it's what you volunteer for to help and really put your heart and soul into that moves the needle out there. He was great at doing that, and I continue to do that to this day. He was an expert in ethics and anything along with ethics. He served on the ethics committee and all those sorts of things with the bar. He also helped with the ABA along those lines. He would testify for all kind of clients all over the country in ethics opinions. On a national scale, working with the ABA, he served, I think, at least 2 terms on the ABA's board through a tumultuous time in the legal profession nationally. And he was instrumental in helping guide the national politics through the change in the legal practice around the country and around the world, and sitting on those boards and able to have a voice at those meetings for Mississippi and to make sure Mississippi was heard and structured as best possible. But made a name for himself there. But primarily, I would say his real name for himself has been just the general practice of law in Belzona, Mississippi, serving the good people of the Delta and putting a great product out there for great people that need help. I think until the last month, he just retired from being the city judge in Belzona, and I think he was the longest running city judge from the 70s sometime. And the number of people he was able to help in that city judge position that were in a hard time in their life and ended up in front of him, that he took it and not punished them necessarily, but put them on the right road to do better, and then help them in other aspects of their life to do better. And that's what lawyers should strive for each and every day. That's the reason we go to law school. That's the reason we practice and make it our daily chores to help others. He's done an amazing job of doing that his whole life and his whole career. He was past president. Was the president of the bar, past president of the bar, served on all their committees to speak of, and wrote a lot of the ethics opinions that they have there, or participated in many, many more. Just incredible legacy he has with the bar and founding and molding the bar as it is today. He served as president of the Law Alumni Chapter, and I served as president after him, but was on the board at the same time he was, which was nice to be able to serve on the same board together. Has known or has hired all the deans of the law school for the foreseeable past, had a great rapport with the professors there, the law school, and has really helped a lot of the students there in volunteering and working other ways with the students and our alumni that are out all over the world. We need more lawyers like Cham. We need more lawyers that are in it for the people in the community and help them on their small day-to-day problems that they need. House closing, estate, will, just small stuff. We don't need more of the, big corporate types of things. We have a lot of Mississippians that need people to help them, and Cham has done that for his whole career, and it has been amazing. He's also helped some big clients out, but it's been amazing what he's able to do for all sorts of people and really putting his community first and making them the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, William C. Trotter III.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It's just a pleasure and an honor and a treat, as Betty said, to be here and receive this award that's given to me by the alumni of the Law School of Ole Miss. One of the things that I always found out about the law school here at Ole Miss, and a word that I always used, you might not think about it, but this law school is terribly accommodating. When I was in law school and getting ready to start my last year of law school, I had also enlisted in the United States Army Reserve. And there was a reason a lot of us did that back in those days. Some of you may recall that. But I had signed up for Dean Bunkley's class in professional responsibility ethics. And then I got a letter from our Uncle Sam that told me I needed to report to Fort Ord, California in Monterey within 2 weeks. And so I went to Dean Bunkley and said, what do I got to do? He said, well, you can stay here and go to school with me, but if you don't do that, they're going to come arrest you. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And he said, well, you go ahead and do your military obligation. And then when you get through, I bet you I'll be about as far along as the next class of this professional responsibility, and you can jump back into school at that time and finish and get your degree, which is exactly what happened. But that was because the University of Mississippi Law School was accommodating to me, and I have noticed that it's been accommodating to so many other people that we've seen that have become graduates of the Ole Miss Law School. I'm delighted to have my family here with me tonight, my wife Jane, my 2 children, McLean Trotter, Lisa Melton, and Floyd Melton and his parents are here. Also, Mallory Matthews here dates my son, and she is a second-year law student. Also delighted to have our daughter, Dr. Jermaine Gochi, and her 2 children with her, and our friends who practiced law. He practiced in Greenville for years. They've retired, living here in Oxford, Eddie Lugenbach. The wonderful thing about being a lawyer is that you know a lot of people and you've got a lot of friends, some people that you can count on and they can count on you, and that's a wonderful thing about being an attorney. Let me just say in closing how much I appreciate this honor. I've had some honors before, but this is the first time I've ever been in somebody's Hall of Fame. That's just nothing. That's kind of amazing, if you ask me. I wasn't even in my high school Hall of Fame. This is a big deal. Thank you so much. But on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank you all for naming me as a member of the Hall of Fame of the University of Mississippi Law School. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, everyone, thank you for being here. Please join me in congratulating once again our 2025 Hall of Fame inductees. It has been a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming. We are dismissed. Thank you.